Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Arkansas carried out a double execution Monday night, marking the first time in nearly 17 years that any state killed two people on the same day. At 7:20 p.m. Arkansas time, 52-year-old Jack Harold Jones was pronounced dead in the death chamber at the Cummins Unit State Prison. Infirmary workers had spent more than 45 minutes unsuccessfully trying to put a central line into his neck. According to a court filing, during Jones' execution, he was, quote, moving his lips and gulping for air, unquote, which suggests he continued to be conscious during the lethal injection. The controversial sedative midazolam is administered as part of a cocktail of execution drugs to make prisoners unconscious, but it's repeatedly failed to do so during other executions, leading to painful deaths. Ahead of Monday night, Jones' lawyers had argued his medical condition was likely to reduce the sedative's effectiveness, leading to an unconstitutionally painful death. But this argument was rejected by a court. Before being killed, Jones gave a long final statement in which he apologized to the daughter of Mary Phillips. Jones has admitted to raping and killing Phillips in 1995. His final words were, "I'm sorry." Lawyers for the second man, Marcel Williams, filed a last-minute appeal for a stay of execution following Jones' killing, arguing Williams could also experience a botched, painful death. A district court judge initially granted a temporary stay of Williams' execution, but then allowed the execution to go forward. Williams was pronounced dead at 10:33 p.m. He'd been convicted and sentenced to death for the 1994 kidnap, rape, and murder of Stacey Erickson. Monday night's executions came after legal challenges reached the U.S. Supreme Court, which rejected a stay for Williams. The only justice to dissent in this ruling was Justice Sonia Sotomayor. The last double execution carried out in the United States was in 2000 in Texas. Arkansas carried out its first execution in 16 years Thursday, killing Liddell Lee, and plans to execute a fourth man, Kenneth Williams, this coming Thursday. The state had initially planned to execute 8 people within 11 days this month, an unprecedented rate of executions in modern U.S. history. We'll have more on Arkansas's executions after headlines with Guardian reporter Ed Pilkington, who's in Arkansas. President Trump has walked back from demands that a government funding bill allocate $1.4 billion for border wall construction. The government faces the looming possibility of a government shutdown if a funding deal is not reached by the end of this week. On the campaign trail, Trump had promised Mexico would pay for Trump's expanded border wall. This is White House spokesperson Sean Spicer answering questions on Monday.
Look, they're currently negotiating. We feel very confident that they understand the president's priorities and that we'll come to an agreement by the end of Friday. Well, I think, Jim, the president has made very clear that initially we needed to get the funding going, and there's be several mechanisms to make sure that that happens. That funding piece will happen in due time. Alexis.
That is a promise that the
president
made during the campaign time.
No, but he also
said Mexico would pay for the wall.
Right.
And now we're having a discussion that the government might shut down over the wall.
President Trump is expected to unveil his proposed tax overhaul Wednesday, which will reportedly include a plan to slash the corporate tax rate from 35% to a mere 15%. If passed, the tax cut could significantly reduce government revenue for key public programs. Democrats have vowed not to work with Trump on a tax plan until he releases his tax returns. Another top Fox News anchor, Sean Hannity, is facing accusations of unwanted sexual advances. Former Fox News guest Debbie Schlussel has accused Hannity of inviting her back to his hotel room and that after she rejected his advances, quote, he called me and yelled at me and I kind of knew I wouldn't be back on his show, she said. While Schlussel says she doesn't think the incident qualifies as sexual harassment, she says she thought Hannity was weird and creepy. The accusations come after Fox's top anchor, Bill O'Reilly, was ousted last week. Amidst revelations, he and Fox paid more than $13 million to settle 5 sexual harassment claims. Meanwhile, New York Magazine reports 7 black employees at Fox are planning to join a racial discrimination lawsuit accusing Fox's longtime controller of spewing racist insults for years. The employees also accuse the controller, Julie Slater, of forcing black women workers to arm wrestle their white co-workers. In a letter to the network, the workers' lawyers write, quote, forcing a black woman employee to fight for the amusement and pleasure of her white superiors is horrifying. This highly offensive and humiliating act is reminiscent of Jim Crow-era battle royals, unquote. The State Department's facing criticism after using taxpayer money to promote President Trump's private for-profit Florida resort, Mar-a-Lago. On a State Department website, a promotional article offers a, quote, inside look at the winter White House, unquote. That's Mar-a-Lago. The watchdog group American Oversight says it'll file an ethics complaint with the State Department. The Office of Government Ethics, Oregon Democratic Senator Ron Wyden criticized the promotion, tweeting, quote, yes, I am curious at State Department, why are taxpayer dollars promoting the president's private country club? President Obama delivered his first post-presidency speech Monday night, speaking to a group of students in Chicago. Without ever once uttering Trump's name, Obama encouraged civic engagement and expressed concern about increasing political polarization. The U.S. Treasury Department has imposed sanctions on 271 officials with Syria's Scientific Studies and Research Center, which the U.S. says is linked to the Syrian government's alleged chemical weapons program. The sanctions are in response to a chemical weapons attack allegedly carried out by the Syrian government, which killed 86 civilians, including dozens of children, in early April. The Syrian government's denied carrying out the attack and has instead blamed the anti-government rebels. In Los Angeles, tens of thousands of people marched to the Turkish consulate Monday to commemorate the 102nd anniversary of the Armenian genocide.
Every year, because they are not accepting the genocide. The government of Turkey, they are dictator. Especially now, Erdogan is a dictator. Okay, he's not accepting. They have to accept this is a genocide. It happened.
The Turkish government continues to deny the genocide, which saw an estimated 1.5 million Armenians exterminated through direct killing, starvation, torture, and forced death marches. In the Congo, the United Nations says a video appears to show the killing of 2 UN investigators who went missing more than a month ago. The government, which had been accused of complicity in their disappearance, screened the video Monday and said it shows the killings were carried out by anti-government militia. The UN investigators went missing in the Kasai region, where at least 17 mass graves have been unearthed over the last month, amidst ongoing fighting between rebels and Congolese government forces. In Mexico, a Dutch ship operated by the organization Women on Waves spent the weekend in international waters off the coast of Guerrero over the weekend, providing free, safe abortions. Outside the capital, Mexico City, abortion is illegal, except in limited cases such as rape, forcing women to seek dangerous, clandestine abortions. This is Women on Waves director Rebecca Gompertz.
We're here with the ship Adelaida in Zihuatanejo, Mexico, to raise awareness to the violations of women's rights here in Guerrero, where abortion is still very restricted. We can take out women to international waters where the Mexican jurisdiction doesn't apply anymore, and provide medical abortions to women in international waters.
Back in the United States, New Orleans has removed 4 Confederate monuments, including one whose original inscription celebrated, quote, white supremacy in the South. The government workers who removed the statues wore masks and bulletproof vests for protection and were guarded by police snipers during the job. White nationalists had staged a series of protests in the lead-up to the memorial's removals. A car belonging to one of the workers had also been set on fire. And in southwestern Pennsylvania, residents and activists have launched ongoing 24-hour tree sits to try to block the construction of Sunoco's Mariner East 2 pipeline, which would carry frack gas from the Marcellus Shale in Ohio across Pennsylvania to an export facility on the East Coast. Multiple residents and activists are currently suspended in trees in Huntingdon County in efforts to prevent workers from clear-cutting the forest to make way for the pipeline. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman in Boston.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez in New York City. Welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world.